Welcome back to another reading, folks. Today I am looking at Glitter and Lasers, otherwise known as Anna O'Brien. Her real name is Anna O'Brien, and I'm doing this and I look at VIPs so that we can figure out how we can live our best lives, but my intention is to help folks figure out how they can get to their best and highest selves, and that includes VIPs. Everybody, regardless of their social status, deserves to reach their best and highest self. Today I am using the Goddess Tarot, and I have her cards laid out in a portrait spread. Now, traditionally used portrait spreads are a 3x3 card spread for Lenormand, but in this particular case I'm choosing to use it with the Goddess Tarot, and I'm just going to be working with the Goddess Tarot today. So with her central theme, I'm asking who she is really behind the scenes, when it's just her behind closed doors. Who is she for real? And I've got the Princess of Swords. In the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, that is the Knight of Swords, and in this case this is reversed. This is choosing not to explore new territory, because Knights are all about expansion. It's in the mindset of Sagittarius and the mindset of Jupiter. And this is not someone who is willing to expand her mind just yet. That doesn't mean that it's always going to be this way. She can change this anytime she likes, but right now she's in stasis. She is stagnant. And it feels good to be in this particular place, but it won't feel that way. It won't feel good to stay that way for long. It's difficult for her to change habits. She likes to do the same thing over and over again, even when it's getting to be uncomfortable. The familiar is comfortable to Anna, based on what I can see right there. Likes to do the same things over and over again because it's comfortable. If you suggest to her doing something new, she will resist, and she'll be dragged along kicking and screaming even if it's the universe trying to bring her into a better new existence. So I'm going to take a look at her corner cards as well. It kind of gives us a better picture of what's going on in her life. I've got the Moon, and I've got Chariot, or movement in this particular case. This is about moving forward in spite of the fact that she has trouble seeing clearly the path ahead of her. There's a sense that she's operating blind with this being here in the with the Moon card being here, and also with Chariot. She's just doing. She's not thinking too terribly hard. She's just doing what it is that she's being told by her team to do. And unfortunately, I feel like that's as far as she thinks. When it's just her behind closed doors, she's still very obsessed with, I shouldn't say very obsessed, but I should say is she's very much in the habit of doing the same things over and over again, and she cares deeply about what her team thinks in terms of moving her success forward. She cares deeply about what her friends and other influencers think, because she feels like she needs to move forward in that particular light. This is not someone who uses their intuition too much. Anna can change this, once again, anytime that she likes, and that because it's here, that does suggest to me that there is that potential for her to tap into her intuition. She is psychic. I believe that everybody is psychic to a certain degree, and it varies for each person, right? But for her, she's choosing not to use her intuition when it comes to moving forward in a positive direction. And we'll talk about what she can do to move forward, because either way, the future will proceed, and it's up to Anna to decide whether she's going to participate with the future or if she's going to resist it. And I feel like at this point that she's resisting it. I feel like that she's in some degree of pain, or her cards at least are saying that she's in some degree of pain. She's sad. The Knight of Cups is in reverse. She's hurting. And with the Five of Cups, that's hanging out in regrets of the past, of having done something that wasn't up to her standards, something that she didn't want to happen. Something's made her deeply unhappy. And I want to talk about the past for just a second. This is in her past column. Well, we have here judgment, which is about choosing to rise based on what the universe has told us to do. We are meant to up-level ourselves. Our guides, our ancestors, the universe has given us all kinds of ingredients, tools that we need in order to become more powerful spiritual people. And I feel like that, well, here's how the cards should be arranged. Excuse me. Nope, that's not right either. I'm sorry. I'm watching the cards and the monitor at the same time, but that's the order that the cards appear in. So, in the past, things changed, not necessarily of her will, and she was forced here with the Judgment card to go along with the universe. She did up-level herself, but she is deeply unhappy with the Knight of Cups. She has some real regrets about how she up-leveled herself. And again, I don't know that she is consciously thinking too terribly hard about how she can become her best and her highest self for herself. That's it. And I don't know how much of a spiritual mindset that she has, in spite of the fact that I see her as being a psychic person. There's something that her intuition told her, quite possibly, and now she can't go back, and it makes her deeply unhappy. I don't know what her intuition told her either, but it's got her in the Hanged Man position. In this particular case, this is sacrifice, and this particular goddess sticks around for each soul to go through each incarnation and eventually arrive in a state of nirvana, I believe. I need to study my goddesses a little bit more, but she stays and hangs out with each person until every last soul has reached heaven, has reached nirvana. But this is traditionally the Hanged Man position. I see Anna as being suspended in a state of just getting downloads, and in spite of the fact that she's moving around and traveling and filming and vlogging and all that kind of good stuff, there's still a state of being suspended because she chooses not to think differently, chooses to stay in the same mindset and not change things for herself, change how she thinks about herself, and change how she thinks about the world. And until then, the universe is going to hold her in a place of suspension, stuckness, stagnancy, until she changes. Now here we go with the Eight of Swords. In the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, the figure is kind of inching her way along, but she's blindfolded. In this particular case, this figure can get up, start walking forward, and can look around and see which swords are in her way and which ones kind of aren't in her way, for instance. Now this, I was just seeing how in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, the character is blindfolded and is bound. There's the idea that if the character can take a deep breath and release, those bindings will just fall away. But in this case, she is blinding herself. She's hiding with her hand. She's choosing not to see what it is she can do to change about herself. And until she chooses to see what she can do to change about herself, the universe is going to keep her stagnant until she can move forward. This wasn't consciously done here in this past. This was an accident, and she's avoiding this at all costs. She doesn't want to accept the moment for what it is, and I understand that might be tremendously hard, but she's resisting realizing what new behaviors would be best for her. She's resisting starting over with a new life for herself, reinventing herself on her channel. And to be fair, the audience might really like her to reinvent herself. That might be cool. She would definitely feel better. But the question is, will she? And I don't know that she will. By the way, that middle column that I've read with the Hanged Man, with the Knight of Swords and the Eight of Swords, that's all her present. That is where she is right now. Now in her future, she's got the Chariot. She's got the Eight of Cups, walking away from something that she's put a lot of time and energy and love into. And then this. She's got a lot of regret. She needs to move forward in spite of her regret of how the past has gone. There might be some things to do with her channel that she needs to let go of, and it's just painful. Old ways of doing things. This is definitely about saying, back there I had a realization about who I was supposed to be, and I didn't take it because I got scared. I wanted to stay in my shell. She's been vulnerable in the past with her audience before. This is a new level of vulnerability that I don't know that she's ready to take right now. There is that possibility in the future, but I don't know that she will. It is being offered to her. There's something about a lot of regret that she needs to deal with. It's like she's holding this regret close to her chest, and the universe is saying, Spirit, her guides are saying, you have got to move on. If you're going to keep growing as a person, you can't hang out with your regrets. You can't hang out with the things that make you sad. And she's put a lot of time and energy into holding on to those things that make her so sad to begin with. You can also read a portrait spread horizontally, not just vertically. Horizontally in the middle, she's got Judgment, the Princess of Swords, and the Eight of Cups. She was supposed to have moved on from this particular stage of regret, or what I should say is, she should have left this particular emotional investment a while back. That could have something to do with her persona that she has on her channel. I wonder if she doesn't want to, no, she wants to stay in her shell. Okay. She wants to stay in her shell. She doesn't want to break out because she sees that as where her success comes from. And there's a lot of comfort when it comes to familiarity and not thinking a new way, not exploring the territory you already have in a new fashion. She doesn't want to think differently. She doesn't want to talk differently. She wants the same because that's what's gotten her so much success. And if she lets that go, then who is she? Changing things up, letting go of an old persona would be the best thing possible for her. And I don't know that she's willing to take it. This is her top row. She is going to be suspended in a state of not seeing very, very clearly until she can tap into her intuition. Things are going to change and move forward, but the question is she going to be on board with it? And I'm trying to rearrange my cards the way that they appear. I apologize, y'all. Hopefully I can get things together. And this is how they appear for me. The Moon, the Hanged Man, and the Chariot. She cannot move forward until she acts with her intuition. She needs to get in touch with her intuition, and she needs to stop avoiding whatever downloads the universe is giving her about changing, about letting go of regrets. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that she uses to distract herself from her pain, and make no mistake, she's in a whole lot of pain a lot of the time. She has real regrets about how the past has gone, and that's pretty much all she can think about, is how much she regrets what has happened in the past, even if it was ultimately for her own good. I don't feel like she sees it as something that was a lesson for her to learn from, to grow from. I feel like it's just here, she feels like it's just here to hurt, and that's all there is to it. What can she do in order to move out of this stage of regret? It's changing how she fundamentally thinks about herself, how she thinks about how she operates in the world, and that's going to take time and energy and effort, and I feel like she just wants easy. This is casual action. This is not being too exploratory when it comes to thinking differently. She's comfortable as is. She doesn't want to move forward. Okay, I'm repeating myself at this point. Let's move on to another question. So, who is she really? We've already answered that. Is she happy with where she is in life? And what can she do to become happy if she isn't? Let's answer that next. So, at the bottom of the deck, we have the Empress, and she's in reverse, known as fertility in this particular deck. It's interesting because I would have thought that Anna would have been the kind of person to be very much the Empress, the one who is in charge of her own life, who has her emotions in a safe place but also not stagnant. Definitely has her material comfort, or at least she affects the image of someone who has a great deal of material security, and she may not have as much material security as she wants to let the audience know. This is definitely someone who isn't the Queen of Swords, who isn't the Queen of Fire. I'm about to say the Queen of Wands. This is someone whose queens are not all in balance. They're not communicating with each other very well. This is someone who needs to recognize herself as the goddess that she is. I feel like she's spinning her wheels trying to get other people to believe that she is a goddess when she doesn't believe it herself. I wonder if she isn't disgusted with herself on some level. She's got the Ten of Pentacles in reverse. That's about leaving behind a legacy that she isn't proud of. And it's interesting that I talked about material security earlier. I don't know that she's as well off as she shows off to the public. Once again, I feel like she spends her money in such a way that she wants it to bring comfort to her, but it doesn't. Money is there to make our physical bodies comfortable, but if our wand, our sword, if our cup energy isn't all in balance, then this isn't going to make us feel good. I do see that with this being present at all, that she does have money, but because it's reverse, it doesn't satisfy her. Whenever she spends money on a new experience, new clothes, new food, or whatever have you, she's always left wanting more. She's telling herself, asking herself, is that it? There's an emptiness to her life that she's chasing with money, with security, with vlogs, with attention from others, and she's telling herself that that's enough when it isn't. Now, in this particular deck, the Queen of Pentacles is actually the King of Pentacles. They've reversed things a little bit with this particular deck. Again, she has everything that she could ever possibly want. She knows how to conduct herself when it comes to bringing in more wealth, but it isn't something that satisfies her, and I don't know how much she saves her cash. I don't know how much she saves for like a rainy day, for instance, for like an emergency. If you were to analyze her finances and see how much she actually had in her accounts, I don't think that there would be even remotely enough for her to work with an emergency, and there's certainly not nearly enough as much as the audience thinks that there is. This is someone who has a lot of wealth but doesn't know how to properly control it in such a way that it benefits her and benefits others. She just kind of spends in frivolously, trying to fill up a hole that exists within her heart. She has the Three of Cups here, and it's in reverse. She doesn't get along with friends. She doesn't get along with influencers as well as she could. She fights them. She resists them when they give her advice, when they try to have cool new adventures with her. It's like she's the kind of person to have them do what she wants to do, and then when they start to suggest stuff for them to do and she can go along, she's highly resistant to that. She really, really doesn't like that. I asked, is she happy? No, she fundamentally isn't. I have here the Queen of Cups, and I just talked about how they were reversed in this particular deck. This is the Queen of Decks. The Queen of Cups, I should say, in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith. This is someone who might lack compassion, who definitely lacks compassion for herself, self-love in a way that assists but doesn't medicate, if you know what I mean. Actually builds herself up and doesn't just anesthetize herself to the current situation, like what we saw earlier, that she's in a deep state of grief, needs to walk away from her grief and move into a new era, but I don't know that she can. I don't know how much she is in control of her emotions. I feel like she can get jealous pretty easily, especially with that Three of Cups landing next to the Three of Cups. She doesn't spend too long in her emotions because they're so painful for her that as soon as she starts to get too emotional, she pulls back out and doesn't stay with the moment, stay with the emotions, and works with them so that eventually she can heal. If you feel it, you can heal it. And I don't know that she believes that. There's the Eight of Swords again. She's blinded herself to her path forward, feeling very defensive, possibly against people that she doesn't need to be defensive against. She doesn't see this. She's blinding herself to this. I don't need to be so defensive all the time. This might have something to do with her self-image of her and her body weight. Okay? She might get super, this also points to being deeply hypersensitive when it comes to what other people think of her, specifically of her body image. The first three cards of this spread are highly connected to the physical body, for instance, and so I can see that she is, Spirit is indicating that she's deeply defensive and that she's in deep anxiety. She needs to release. This is my Death card. What came out next is death. Transformation into someone different. I am a body positive person. I don't believe that there's anything wrong at all with being of a larger size as long as you are healthy. Health at every size. But I see her as being deeply anxious and very defensive when it comes to people talking about her weight, talking about her image. She does everything that she can to prove others wrong, but at the end of the day, it doesn't satisfy the hollowness that's in her heart. And to be fair, if she was thin and fit, and she still had these cards, she would still have a hollow place within her heart that wasn't being fulfilled. This has nothing to do with body weight. It has everything to do with self-image, with feeling defensive, with blinding yourself, with being in deep anxiety about how other people see you. This all needs to change. This all needs to transform. She needs to come into her state as the Empress. She needs to transform into the state that she's supposed to be in, which is someone who has all her queens under her control and they're all upright. And she has a journey to go on, a spiritual journey to go on, if she's willing to take it. But I don't know that she is. I feel like she's so busy fighting the past, so busy fighting off regrets and unhappiness that it affects where she is in the present day. On to my last question. What is her soul here on earth to do in this lifetime? I'll be right back. What is her soul here on earth to do in this lifetime? I've got the Seven of Pentacles in reverse. She is here to figure out what to actually invest her time and energy in. She might have some earth energy in her chart. I've been pulling up a whole lot of pentacles. Or she might just be someone who is really, really very deeply connected to material wealth, material comfort, that kind of thing. And this is asking her to learn over the course of her lifetime what the best investments are to make. It's also to teach her to uproot hard work after it's been laid down. If the work, even if it's been hard work, if it's not stuff that befits her, benefits her, builds her up or anything like that. It's not meant to be there. And she needs to uproot the stuff. She needs to change the stuff that she's already put a lot of time and effort into. If it's not working out, she needs to learn to let it go and plant something else in that plant's place. If it's not benefiting her, then why is she making the effort? And here is her crossing card. This time it's upright. The Empress, it's pointing towards her future, which indicates to me an upright nature. She's supposed to grow into this particular aspect of the Empress. This is a challenge. Now, it's kind of cool that she has the Empress energy. We saw that previous spread where she has the ability to reach this in this lifetime. But I just want her to learn, or what I should say is her guides just want her to learn this lesson, that not everything is worth investing into, even if you're deeply attached to it. Building your material comfort in a way that actually benefits your best and highest good, that the universe wants to guide you along, that's the best path to take, and I don't feel like she's taking that path right now. In her past, she's got the 9 of Wands in reverse. What is she here to do in this lifetime? This is the fundamental wound that she was dealt with at the time of her birth. This is her Chiron energy. There may be a Chiron in a fire sign in her birth chart. And I went looking for her birth chart and I couldn't find it. Okay, I couldn't find a birth time, a place, or anything like that. And that information might be out there. I couldn't find it very easily. At a very early age, she was vulnerable. Her guard was down, and someone genuinely hurt her when it came to somebody's behavior. This might have been sexual assault of some kind. And I'm not saying that to be exposing at all, but what I am saying is that she's coming from a very deep place of hurt that she's not going to show people because it hurts that bad. It's interesting that her Chiron energy is coming through this particular reading. She's meant to heal others' Chiron wounds and open herself up to vulnerability and allow other people to also heal her own Chiron wound. She needs to develop a healing community, and I hope that she does. At this point, she's together with people who do not serve her, who gossip behind her back, and she does some of the same. She creates, and they create a lot of drama around her. They blow things out of proportion when it comes to Anna. Aren't always true. Rumors, lies, gossip, slander. They're not good for her to have in her life. But because she is not emotionally connected to herself, because she refuses to look into the mirror that the Queen of Cups presents, that's water on water energy. That creates a really powerful mirror for us to see through. She's not in touch with her psychic powers either. She's not in touch with her intuition. So pretty consistently, it leads her into situations where she invests too much energy into people who don't like her, who are just in her presence because clout of what they can give her. There's the idea that also that they are not stealing from her, literally in the sense, but they pretend to be her friend. She gives them gifts, and they go along their merry way, still being nasty to her behind her back. It doesn't have to be like this for Anna, and if this describes your situation too, it doesn't have to be like this for you either. You can learn from Anna's life, and you can make different choices. It's going to be different for you than it will be for Anna, of course. We're all on our own life journeys. But there are still some important lessons that you can learn from any VIP. Nobody has it perfect. Everybody has their Chiron wound that they're walking around with, and you can learn from those people if you choose to. Not in touch with her intuition, refuses to look into the mirror and see who is really there looking back at her. However, in her future position, she has the ability to change things for the better. She has the potential to get into High Priestess energy, whether that's her going in for help, spiritual help, or if that's becoming her own High Priestess. That would be fascinating. And I see that she would be highly celebrated if she were to come into her energy as the high priestess. The Six of Staves is in the advice position in this particular case, and that is to enjoy the accolades. She doesn't. Not totally. When people celebrate her life, because she rings hollow inside her heart because there's not enough self-love for her in her own heart. I feel like there's kind of the risk where she's like, yeah, fuck you, to a lot of those accolades. Not all the time, and she definitely wouldn't do that to her audience's face. But internally, I feel like she's one who can have real difficulty accepting it when people congratulate her. And that might be part of her journey, is that she can accept people's looking up to her as a role model, and she can come into her energy as the high priestess in that particular sense. There's also this sense of people guiding her towards this, saying, oh my God, you'd be really amazing as a tarot reader, or something along those lines. It might not work out that way, but there's something about listening, genuinely listening to the love and adoration that people have for her that's going to do something to bring her into this high priestess energy. People looking up to her. Once she realizes people are really looking up to me as a role model and realizes that to the deepest part of her core, I'm hoping that'll encourage her to become her own high priestess, to not rely on others for spiritual cues. And this is going to require her to leave behind an old way of feeling, an old way of thinking and doing things. This is going to require her to let go of the idea that material comfort is what is going to make her happy and stable. Money only goes so far. It does buy us food. It does buy us housing. And let's be honest, if money buys us food and housing, by extension, money buys us happiness, but it doesn't buy us all happiness, okay? Once she comes into her high priestess energy, that's it. She's not going to be able to turn around and go back for these cups that she's made a heavy emotional investment in, because it's just not going to feel right for her. I don't know, with the mental stagnancy that we saw earlier at the beginning of this video, that she's going to take this particular route, though. There's still this whole, I'm going to hold on to my shell because that's what's most comfortable for me. And ultimately, if a baby chick stays in the shell and doesn't peck its way out, it dies. I think the analogy bears up, right? In her environment card, it's go, go, go energy. And this is very much a running away from the uncomfortable feeling that something needs to change, that on the inside, she's stagnant even while she's traveling the world and doing all this cool stuff, vlogging, trying new foods, hanging out with new people. It's not enough. It fills up a void that needs, or it's just throwing stuff down a giant void that can never be satisfied. She's afraid of the tower moment. This is 16, also known as oppression with this particular deck. And it's the tower. She is deathly afraid of the end of one era and the beginning of a new one. It's not just death being featured here. It's completely tearing down a building and wrecking the foundation so that a new building, a new foundation can be laid. She's terrified of this. And let's be honest, tower moments are, the majority of the time, can be terrifying. They're horrifying for some people. They cause trauma. And I don't know necessarily that walking away from her situation, accepting the past, it does mean accepting trauma, but it also means fundamentally changing how she relates to her audience and relates and connects to herself. This would fundamentally change everything about Anna O'Brien, and by extension Glitter and Lasers, how she conducts herself on her channel, if she were to adopt this attitude of some things should be invested in and other things should not be. And if I make an investment in the wrong plant, so to speak, then that plant needs to be uprooted and something else better for me needs to be planted in its place and coming into her power as the Empress. That is what she is here on Earth to do, and it's hard. I don't feel like she's doing it yet, but that doesn't mean that she won't do it in the future, and we will always wish and hope that she makes even baby steps towards coming to a place where she is spiritually satisfied with her life. And that's it, y'all. I hope y'all have a great rest of your day. Take care.